Oh, there you go.
There you go.
So that's all. Those are all the.
It gives you another drop down.
I did that earlier. I know that not that.
Okay, so we're just going live, but yeah, we can do. But it's going to take a while to get used to it. Who's that? Oh, that's from Simpson Grierson. Okay, welcome everyone to the final meeting of World District Council for this triennium. Good to have everyone here. We have no members to speak in the public forum today, and we have acknowledged some members who are on Zoom, Councillor Naylon and Deputy Mayor Basher, attending electronically. And we'll note Councillor Webb is going to be a late attendee also electronically when she gets within reception range. So with that, we'll open the meeting at what is the time? What is it? 3:31, and call for apologies. So we've got Councillor Reedy, who is an apology completely, and Ned Telford and Linda Webb for lateness. She's anticipating being here about 30 minutes late, she thought. Any other apologies to note? Everyone else is here, I think. So with those, I'll move those be accepted. Seconded, Councillor Grafton. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Are there any members' interests? Under item 2, members' interests, financial or non-financial, members wish to declare? Councillor Sampson grants. Let's just deal with them on the fly.
I'll just confirm that grants as well, so I'll deal with it on.
Okay, we'll note those. We'll just note them when we get to decisions on those individual community group grant applications. Anything else to note? Okay, I'll move those interests be recorded. Seconded, please. Councillor Weston. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Confirmation of the previous minutes. And these are the ordinary minutes from the 27th of August and the extraordinary council meeting 29th of August. Let's deal with the ordinary council meeting first. Are there any matters of correction for those minutes? Nothing heard. The extraordinary council meeting on the 29th of August. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Nothing heard. Somebody like to move that they both be recorded as accurate. Councillor Howard. Seconded, Councillor O'Keefe. Any further discussion on those? All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, there, as you are all aware, and the public probably isn't, council is working on a new document platform, and as part of that, Caitlin omitted to include the council action point list, which is normally a standing agenda item. So we're just going to, I just thought we'd note that it should be on the agenda and it's not. But there are only 3 matters on there. 2 of them weren't to be reported on until subsequent meetings anyway. And the third one was the toilet, public toilets paper, which is a subject of this agenda. So there's nothing to vote on there, but just noting that that was an omission from the agenda, and that will obviously be a standard agenda item at subsequent meetings. With one of them will be completed as of today. Everyone clear on that? Okay, thank you. So we move to the officers' reports, and the first one is the Local Government Funding Agency Guarantor Accession report, and John Salmon's going to speak to that, and we have attending remotely from Simpson Grierson, Kate, who presumably will provide some advice as required. John, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to pick up on a couple of things that I thought would be important to understand. This has been an accumulation of a lot of work, and also a special thanks to the community for their valuable input during our consultation period for LTP. I note that there was a question raised last week during a RAC meeting around why it had taken so long after the adoption of the long-term planners to get us to where we're at today. I just wanted to say we have moved as quickly as we possibly can. It turns out the legal process was a little bit more in depth than what we thought it was initially. Ideally, we would have had this sorted last month, but timing-wise, it just wasn't possible. However, I also wanted to point out the fact that the interest savings that were questioned last week that we have highlighted at the deliberations are still valid, and we will still benefit from these as we move forward, which is a good thing. The purpose of the report is to get the necessary signatures to move forward with becoming a guarantor of the local government funding agency. This will be the final report given to council before we join the other 72 councils in the country who are guarantors. The next step would be to get these documents to Russell McVeigh, who are the LGFA's lawyers, to go through their tender process in the next week. So basically what happens next is on the 29th of September, the LGFA open up they call it a tender process, which is basically getting their investors, that's kind of their meeting to sort the investors out. And that closes on the 2nd of October. So if we formally get the signatures today, we'll officially become a guarantor of the LGFA, pending everything through Russell McVeigh on the 6th of October. So that's around 2 weeks from now. From then, we'll officially be a guarantor. I just want to pass my thanks to Simpson Grierson, specifically Katie Daly that's online. She supported us throughout, and it's been great working with her. And I also want to thank Buddle Finlay and Russell McVeigh, who are the LGFA's lawyers. We're joined online by Katie, so if there's any legal questions, we'll be able to answer them. And of course, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. There will be 2 documents that need to be signed from the elected members, and Simon's got 5 documents that he, from a chief executive point of view, that he will have to sign. We don't have to sign the documents as like in this part of the meeting. We can do it at the end, and that's what we're suggesting to do. So any further questions, I'm happy to take them. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Sampson.
Yes, it was I that was questioning the amount of money that we have missed within the 3-month period that we thought we were going to have this all set up. I thought at the time it was pretty ambitious, but obviously it was. So has that calculation been done on what we have lost on savings over that time, please?
Yes, thank you, Councillor. I'm happy to Paul could explore with that one if that would be.
Thank you, Councillor. We calculate that the annual savings and interest will be around $140,000 to $150,000. So for the fact that we're now at June, July, August, we've missed out probably perhaps the first quarter a little bit more. Whatever that calculation is, it's a percentage of the $150,000. So I recall we talked about $80,000 as the figure that we were looking to get a contribution from making this move. So we'll make that target.
That's for the rest of the year.
Sorry, it's greater than $80,000. It's it's close to $150,000 per annum.
We missed out on about 30.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so Grattan.
So just to put that in context, we were told about 80,000. So my calculations say we'll easily save that 80,000 for this financial year.
Yeah, if we through the chair, if you take the 3 months, it's around about 8,000 per million you save. So you take the 3 months, 144 divided by 12, multiply that by 3. That's the saving. We'll still make around 25,000. Or say make. We'll save around $25,000 more than we were expected to when we deliberated. I think the figure we gave was around 80,000. We'll have around about 105 that we'll save for this financial year.
Okay, the rest of it appears to be largely procedural. It's just giving effect to a decision already really made in terms of the legal advice and the requirements around signing and delegations to sign. I don't think there's any grounds for me to question that. Any other questions, councillors? Okay, I'm suggesting we move and do all of these as one. So I think they all really relate to one another. So the draft recommendation is the council receives the LGFA Guarantor Accession report to approve the council's entry into the documents in relation to the council's accession to the LGFA as a guarantor member. 3, authorises the mayor and any one councillor for the purposes of the above recommendations execute the following: A, accession deed to equity commitment deed, and B, accession deed to the guarantee and indemnity. 4, that we delegate authority to the chief executive to execute the following documents for the purpose of the recommendation in 3 above: A, a security issuance certificate, equity commitment deed; B, stock issuance certificate; C, security stock certificate, equity commitment deed; D, security stock certificate; E, security stock issue notice, equity commitment deed; F, security stock issue notice; and G, chief executive certificate. And 5, delegates authority to the chief executive officer to execute such other documents and take any other steps on behalf of the council, if necessary, to give effect to the above recommendations. We'll move that way. So a seconder, Councillor Grafton. Open that for any further debate. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried with 1 against. Thank you. And just note that I understand they need to be signed today. By us?
Yeah,
So
you have to be signed today, so you'll have
one or
to
other of the
get another-
councillors that's in the
another
room
writing
needs to
member.
be the other signatory.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which one, does it?
No.
Okay, thank you. Right, next agenda item is what's this one? Adoption of the report under section 10A of the Dog Control Act. This is Simon Bastian's GM paper.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good afternoon, councillors. This is just a statutory requirement. I'd just like to highlight some of the statistics are all in the positive space. Obviously, the work that education is going on with the compliance team is working really well. There are some opportunities to improve on that. As council adopted 20% discount also for Gold Card members. That's been really taken up well by the committee and really thankful of council on doing that. So thank you so much. I'm happy to take any further questions, Your Honour, Worship.
Thank you. Any questions on that, Councillor Grant?
Just through the chair, there was talk a while ago when Ms. Judd and that were here, that there were a number of dogs that were still known but not registered. Have we got control of any of that, or?
So we have the same situation after every registration. I think we started with 190 post registration for this year, which is better than previous years. That's already gone down to about 160. So they are chasing them as we speak. So it's an ongoing effort every year to chase up those unregistered people that decide to try not pay. But I think it's improving year on year in terms of that approach.
So do we have a feel for the growth? Because it looked like quite a growth in numbers of registered dogs. Are they new dogs or are they?
Oh, they're the
previously
dogs, basically. So they are the ones that we've managed to capture last year and a really big effort to close that gap, if you know what I mean. There's always going to be those that we don't get registered, but we infringe them accordingly.
I know your numbers are
The challenges for the fines to get paid is the other issue as well.
Okay, any questions on the dog control paper? It's an annual one we get every year, but it's good to see progress in this space. Okay, so 2 recommendations there. The council adopts the Villa District Council annual report on dog control policy and practices for 24-25 financial year. Request staff to advise the Secretary for Local Government that the report has been published in accordance with Section 10A of the Dog Control Act 1996 and Section 5, subsection 1 of the Local Government Act 2002. Moved Councillor O'Keefe, second Councillor Farlett. Open that for any further discussion. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Right, gambling venues. Agenda item 4.3. Gambling venues policy, Robin, do you want to talk us through this?
you. So this is probably the fourth time you have seen this, this issue. It's around gambling venues, which addresses class 4 gambling, which are pokie machines, and standalone TABs. So under the Gambling Act and the Racing Industry Act, council has the authority to place some parameters around where standalone TAB facilities, venues can be, and also the Gambling Act talks about the gambling venues in the district. It enables council to control where the venues can be established and can limit the permitted number of gaming machines at each venue and throughout the district. So that's what this is. We had some early engagement and we had submissions. We had a hearing on that early engagement at which we put out 3 options: status quo, which is the current option, the current policy, which is pretty wide, but it does have an application process and consultation, and submissions are welcomed on every additional gaming machine application and every additional venue. We looked at a cap of some sort, and so putting a cap on the number of machines, the number of venues, where venues could be located. And we also looked at sinking lid, which is basically no more applications, no more machines, no more venues for either TAB or for class 4 gambling. At a RAC meeting, we looked at how we might put that cap forward, and that was to set it. It was decided to set it at existing levels. So for class 4 gambling, for pokie machines, that was 58 machines in the district, 7 venues, and look at that, a 9 machine limit per venue, with a 50-metre restriction on where they could locate within, in relation to sensitive activities such as community facilities. As a result of that, we have the draft policy, which is attached. We have a statement of proposal, which explains how council came to this conclusion, and explains what the policy that's been proposed. And there is also an updated report on social impact assessment, which goes through both the benefits and the and disadvantages and advantages of class 4 gambling in particular. And what I believe we've come up with there's a balance between reducing harm, which is one of the important things that both the acts ask us to do, but also retaining the source of mini grants and an entertainment source within the district. So what we're asking today is that you adopt the draft policy and the associated statement of proposal in order for us to go ahead with consultation. We will be calling for submissions in the usual way. They will go through a public notice, social media, the website. And we would expect to get, we got 29 submissions to that early engagement. We would expect to get as many, if not more. And both sides of the arguments for and against will be represented, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you. So first question from me. The social or impact report, I should say.
Yeah.
Who does that? Is that done by us, or is that an independent thing, or?
So we did have, through you, we did have the offer of the DHB, I think, at that first early engagement, where it was decided not to go down that route. And so this draft the social impact report was put together by me.
Thank you. Okay, questions, Councillor Howard.
I just had one around when it goes out in consultation, to make it clear about if there's any existing rights that apply. Because I noticed that there's 2 venues that have above the recommended maximum machines. So could I just have a staff response to, is that correct, they have existing rights? And secondly, will that be in the consultation documents, or will those venues be notified that they have existing rights?
Understand the question?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we have, we definitely, existing rights exist. It's just like most processes like that. So they will be able to retain their existing numbers and machines. And yep, we can add something into the statement of proposal that clearly states that existing venues are able to continue with the same number of machines they have at the moment.
Thank you. Does that attach to the venue or the owner? So I'm thinking if a pub changes hands, that doesn't threaten the number of machines under this policy?
It's the venue, because it's the society that actually makes the application to have them in a particular venue.
Okay, Councillor Weston?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I noticed McManus's Hotel's number 14. If the status quo goes out, status quo option 1 goes out to the public, could those machines be absorbed by other hotels?
No, we've excluded them from the total. So when McManus's were operating, I think it was 72, but as at today, there are 58, and that's the total that we would be going forward with as a cap.
Councillor Nail, I see you're off mute. Are you? Yep.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. More a comment rather than a question. I think this time 3 years ago, people will remember that the council went out for consultation over the cat bylaw and also over the proposed solution to the rubbish. And then the incoming council, which had 7 new councillors on it, ended up holding the hearings without having the background to it. And I felt that, at that time, a lot of us didn't have ownership of the issue because the consultation had happened over the election period. So I just a bit wary that, that maybe this should be held over to the new council so that the new councillors can have ownership of the background rather than being, the first time that they deal with this would be at the hearing rather than the pre-hearing, if you like, pre-consultation. I thought we were at a bit of a disadvantage by having to pick up the threads of that without actually having the background information. So just a suggestion that I think a better process would be to hold this over, let the new council, see the background about where these recommendations have come from, and then go out to consultation. The consultation period over the election time is also, people have got their mind on the election rather than the consultation. So I just wonder whether it would be better just to hold this over for the new council.
Just get a comment from staff on timing. When would this sort of go live if you were going to do it?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it wouldn't go live until middle of October. By the time it starts, by the time everything gets ready on the website. And in relation to I take on board what Councillor Nayland has said about not owning it, but we could definitely make sure through a workshop prior to any hearing that they got the full history of the process, how we got to where we got to. And then hopefully they would feel like they did have enough knowledge to listen to those submissions and make decisions on them.
Could I suggest that we add an additional recommendation to that effect, at a workshop we conducted with the new council prior to submissions? Would that support you satisfied with that, Councillor Naylor?
Yeah, that would be a much better idea. Yeah, I think it's very, very important that people understand and take that ownership.
Yeah, that's good. So I think that addresses the timing thing. It sounds like it'll be post-election before this.
Yeah,
Matter for the public to be worried about, and a good workshop prior for the new council, noting there's a good number of councillors that are already returning anyway. So that's dealing with that. Who else had a question? Okay, cool. Okay, so we'll turn to the recommendations, which are to receive the report, accept the social impact assessment attached as attachment 3, adopt the draft, well, I'm not hearing any changes suggested, so adopt the draft gambling venues policy attachment 1 and associated statement and proposal attachment 2 for consultation. D will be struck out. 4, instruct the Chief Executive Officer to proceed with consultation on the draft gambling venues policy as required under the Local Government Act 2002. And I'm suggesting a 5th, a workshop will be conducted with the new council prior to any hearings of submissions after the consultation period. I'll move that way. Is there a seconder? Councillor Weston. Open that for any further debate. Good. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Right. Toilet amenities. The infamous toilet paper. Brent, Mr. Oldham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That didn't take long, did it? Back to the toilet paper. This report's being provided and as a response to request for councillors to better understand the situation with those amenities, what they're costing, where they are, what proposals are out in the communities for new ones. And there is no recommendation other than council received the report and potentially instruct staff to conduct a workshop or and continue to monitor so for any upcoming funding that may be applicable and come back to you. I think in terms of developing the annual plan for 26-27, it would be good to understand where council see these amenities going. But that will fall out of a workshop, I'm sure.
Okay.
But happy to answer any questions or concerns.
Councillor Howard.
Just for a workshop, I think it'd be nice to have a bit more input. I was wondering, working with a group, say maybe promoting Bull or someone that's got a wider aspect of people that are visiting the area, what services they might need. I took the opportunity when I was at the Tourism West Coast Forum, I asked people there what they thought of council facilities and like toilets. I think it was coming up. Where do you think this is insufficient? And a couple brought up in Maroia that they like something around that intersection. There was a bit of discussion that the reserve would be a bit far out of the way. It's really just servicing going on to Nelson, and I know others see the advantage of where it is currently. It's really, really well lit. I'm just wondering if staff could look at are there other opportunities than Springs Junction to get sites. Somebody suggested that the police station, I don't even know if that's an option, but just a bit of an investigation of what other cost-effective solutions would there be in that area. It's the most probably frequently or most used one in the district.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, good comments, Councillor Howard. We're only running on anecdotal evidence, and that's through the cleaning. I think it's in a report that Reefton and Springs Junction are anecdotally the highest used amenities. The cost of Springs is basically because in its location we don't own any land. We're actually occupying a portion of the service station, and we're pumping that waste. I think it's 800 metres, and that's why that thing costs so much. So the only land BDC actually owns is that reserve, which is about 200 metres
towards Nelson, but the few members of the community that we did meet were very keen on that as being the ideal spot. But, you know, this will fall out of a workshop. We'll need to go back and have further discussions with those community members about, you know, proper locations, etc.
I guess what I'm saying, we need a bit more information, just what the local communities, a lot of these service, our visitors, our local people that are travelling, and I think it's really important to collect what their needs are.
Yeah, understood.
And probably like where these are located, are they a safe place? There's a lot of people that are travelling singly now, and then probably particularly like women, they feel uncomfortable on a site that's not well lit or is isolated. So could they take into consideration in the workshop?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Just on page 104, point 17, just referring to the meeting that was held at with the Northern Bullock community, the Knucklewaw Hall. Prices that were quoted to back to the public are slightly different to what they quoted in here. And so we were quoted $1,500 site inspection, $1,000 delivery, 10 to 15,000 for the slopage field drain, which is still totaling 17,500. And as far as cleaning, it was really I remember putting in a funding request to the LTP for 10,000 per annum, which is what I was quoted to put in for that. That's now 15. Yeah, the public also went against the idea of volunteer cleaning because it's unreliable. That's some of the feedback we've had from like the Caramere and stuff like that. You can't count on that. So maybe just I can maybe include that in the workshop as well. I definitely think we need to do a workshop with a new council table so we can get some good information and make some really robust decisions, because it's stacking up, isn't it? The old toilet scenario. Thank you.
I was going to suggest a slight addition to that note, that workshop could potentially be brought forward if there was an external.
Beg your pardon, my microphone's off. I'm going to suggest an addition that to that workshop should be brought forward if there was an opportunity for external funding come up, because they do from time to time. And if suddenly there's a TIF thing or something available, then we should quickly prioritise what one we want it to go to.
The funding has been announced, has been made available very shortly, so I think there's, I remember the exact number, it's actually been announced by a couple of weeks ago. 10 million for region.
So obviously that would be for investment out of cycle in terms of our annual plan. So in that event, we would need to have some kind of workshop to determine.
Yeah, subsidise any future requirements. I think last time they also included 2 years of operational costs.
Yeah.
As well, first, if you can get in quick enough.
So I wouldn't like us to resolve that we're not doing anything until 26, 27. If there are opportunities in the interim.
Yeah, through the chair, and we did know that in the next steps that we'll continue to monitor those funding opportunities with that exact fund in mind. And if there was something we just wanted to put resolution here for the plan, but noting it forward if there was something that came up.
Okay. Other questions, Danny? Councillor Howard?
Just along that train, it's all very well looking at the TIF funding, but our biggest thing is the ongoing operating costs. I'm sure you might consider 2 years, but it's the ongoing, and I think we're going to have very tight budgets moving forward. We're going to have those overheads spread, and I'll be reluctant to add things that add costs. So I think that needs to be very careful consideration when we're looking at additional toilets.
Councillor Weston?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I see CapEx for Waimangaroa. Is that the upgrade on the same site?
Through the chair, yes, Councillor Weston, it is. It's just want a better word, tidy up on a fairly tight facility, but they're actually pretty well used as well.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Sampson?
Look, go along the same line as Joe, you know, we've got to be some pretty careful as to what we add, because we had a big look at the toilets even in Westport, and we sort of cut back on the number of toilets in Westport, but it's that ongoing cost. And while we've got a couple of extras in here over the years, people used to submit to our annual plan for toilets in a couple of places in Karamea, and it's just it's gone by and by the way. So we do have to sort of look at it very rationally as to the long-term costs. Yeah.
Okay, oh, councillor Falk.
I suggest we don't get too bogged down on this. So I'd like to move on. And I'll pass the resolution.
You'd like to move one and two, pass the motion without spending any extra pennies. Okay. Only through the chair. Okay, so councillor Farless for moving to receive the report and noting the toilet amenities will be workshopped as part of the 26-27 annual plan process. Is there a seconder? Councillor O'Keefe. Any further discussion? Oh, Mr. Basher.
Like to say to Miss Fallon that I'm the one that does the jokes, not her. It's kind of funny.
Thank you. Councillor Naylor.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just in terms of any possible TIF funding, I think we really need to move quite quickly on the Springs Junction option, given that about 85% of the traffic that flows through there actually doesn't come into the Buller district, carries on up into Tasman and Nelson. So I think it's imperative that if there's TIF funding that's possibly going to be available in the near future, that that design work on the reserve gets top priority, so that we're ready, willing and waiting for that, because I don't think it's fair that the burden should fall on the whole of the Buller ratepayers when most of the traffic's actually just passing through that top part of our region.
Yep, it's a good point.
Just on to Councillor Nayland's point, which is good, is we're investigating data opportunities and potentially through mobile phone tracking as to people who might stop in Springs Junction, what their origin and destination is. And then if we can quantify that, then that would help support any funding application we have, because, we're pretty confident that a large proportion of people do pass through the Springs Junction and not, contribute to Buller in any way other than their stop. But we'd like to take that and we can help come back to the workshop and recycle the contents of that investigation.
Thank you. Councillor O'Keefe.
Just a bit of a crazy question. Have we ever collaborated with different councils around sharing costs? If the traffic's going to Nelson, couldn't we bring up our pals up there and go halves in the cleaning?
If I may, through the chair, I think you'd find that start charging us for our stops at Murchison and Culverton. I mean, the swings and roundabouts, sorry. If only we were all flush with cash. But if I may, I think Springs Junction is probably the opportunity to actually bring something that stays with that point of our topics. It is the one that makes a lot of sense. There's the first cab off the rank of stuff and with design and application. And then we're going to result. Depends what I think we could probably and try and reduce their volume. I think there's opportunities for people.
Okay, I think there's a bit to that, but we'll wait and see what evolves in terms of external funding. I shall keep us abreast. That's it. Howard?
I think quite often in the past, the TIF has been done and dusted before it's come out. I'd like to see at the earliest possible stage, it gets run past councillors, even if it's just an email, what's your opinion before the TIF fundings?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Got that?
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to receive the report and note the workshop due for the annual plan next year. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, community grants. So we have a single funding round this year of 80,000. And we have had applications to the tune of $107,240.43. We held that workshop to go through detail of the applications, and today we need to determine the distributions as per council resolution. So Christy is going to have up on screen the spreadsheet, which has been developed in the last time we did this, used the spreadsheet and finalised it and then committed that to the minutes. Councillor Web's joined us. And then the spreadsheet becomes the minutes and we'll do an overall resolution at the end. So show of hands as we go on these if we need to, and then we'll just resolve adding the spreadsheet into the minutes as the official record of the distributions approved. So I think as per usual, is there any on this list that councils do not wish to fund at all?
Just ask a question first. And sorry if I didn't see it, but we had requested that the number 9, that we get an endorsement from the RSA. Have we had that?
No, we haven't had anything.
Okay, but we have asked.
Yes, I can confirm through the chair we have.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you know anything more about that, Councillor Sampson? That's the plaque.
Sorry.
That's the Anzac plaque.
Well, just exactly what was said previously, that somebody, Dave went ahead because of the, and it just needed somebody to go ahead and do it, but of course it's not really connected with the RSA here in town, so it's probably why we haven't had a response, but certainly the group, being a reserve where the war memorial gates are, were in favour of it. And a letter that's, but yeah, being in favour came to council.
Yeah. So I'm not sensing a great desire to be excluded on that basis on you. No. I just understand from the workshop, someone had asked for, I didn't miss it, but had asked for a further confirmation that it was wanted or something out there. And that hasn't come through.
I can understand why they never got one back, probably timing of meetings, and they don't feel.
Yep. Okay. So are there any other questions before we dive into this? Councillor Weston.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Number 15, it says seeking funds to support the West Coast Cancer Society Centre. I thought they mentioned in that one that some of that funding would come to Buller, not go into the big pot.
What number? 16.
15 is the Cancer Society.
Why have we lost one? Who have we lost?
Can I speak to you?
Yep.
We took out one because it's ineligible, so we took out the Rect and Operatic and Repertory Society because they'd already had the Had to be for something that hadn't been started or completed.
Okay, so what was your question on the Cancer Society? So West Coast Cancer Society, which I think is the Greymouth office, which as far as I know supports Buller, but I don't know.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think it said that the money would be spent in the Buller, not on the West Coast Centre.
Through the chair, that's my understanding that the application was for people within Buller.
Right, good. Any other questions? So is there any, if there's no other questions, is there any on the list that councillors wish to exclude? Councillor O'Keefe? Not exclude as a not fund, I should say. They're all eligible, but not fund.
Well, I noticed that the Buller Ladies Chair Yoga hasn't got 2 letters of support. Part of the recommendation.
Do they?
Through the chair, yes, they do. They were emailed out to elected members.
Thank you.
Councillor Fowler?
I would be happy to not vote in favour of number 10, the Caramere Historical Society. I just feel like we've already done this round of grants and the long-term plan. I think what we're doing now is probably unnecessary because we've already spent more money than we intended to. So we all sort of decided through the long-term process not to allow that extra money. So it just seems, I mean, good on them for putting in their application, but I feel like we've already dealt with that. So I'd be quite happy to vote against that.
So you're talking about removing number 10, which was for $3,000. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Howard? Okay, any debate on that one? All those in favour of removing it? 3, 2, 3, 4 on screen. Those want to leave it in? 2, 3, 4, it's drawn. Yep, so it's a draw, so it stays in at the moment. Okay, Councillor Howard.
Point of order, we haven't taken conflict of interest, and I'd just like to take this opportunity to put down that I've got a conflict with the men's shed, so I won't vote or take part in discussions on that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the reminder. And what specific ones are you, councillors? Okay. Noting those two. Councillor Weston.
Well, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Do you, like, I'm on the domain board for Carter's Beach, so is that, how do I deal with that issue?
I don't think you're conflicted if you're on the committee, but it's up to you. Yeah. Councillor O'Keefe.
Yeah, like I'm on the widening of recreation reserve committee, but I've managed to stay out of the decision making around their funding, so I'm not conflicted. Yeah.
Okay, let's start at the top. Buller Women's Ladies Chair Yoga request for $1,800. I'm happy to support that. Seconder, okay.
Just a question. Is this a particular group? Because while I supported it earlier on, I've given it more thought, and it's another group that we turned around and supported ATV. The group's up and going now as a group and one person leading it. 12 months' time, it loses favour, and you've got a TV sitting there. Who takes the TV? Where does it go? And that's the only problem I have with this group. That is it a properly formed group? Is it got somewhere that the who has ownership when things wind down?
Fair question. I think that's the risk we take. Councillor Howard.
We could put that as a condition on the accepting of the grant. Like with a lot of organisations, they nominate a body that and the assets go to when they stop. And while this is a legal entity, this is to support small groups. And I think if we just have some acknowledgement on the activity ceases, that it's acceptable who they leave their assets with. Back to council.
Okay, so points noted, we've had it seconded, haven't we? So we'll just put it to the vote, $1,800, all those in favour of 1,800? Those against? 2 against, it's carried. Okay, Buller Wheelchair Bus Incorporated, 10,682. Favour of that? Seconded, Mr. Grafton. Councillor Naylon, any? Are you just voting? Okay, okay, all those, any questions on that one? All in favour of Buller Wheelchair Bus?
Do we have to go the whole at 10,000? Because when you looked at it, it covered sort of everything. I would have been in favour of about 8,000.
I'm happy with 10 at the moment and test that. So those for 10,682. Those against. Carried, 1 against. Carter's Beach Reserve Hall Subcommittee chairs. Replacing existing stock of chairs, 14,491.
I just had a question about that because I just heard that actually purchased a whole lot of stackable chairs. I'm just not sure how that fits in with this application.
Yeah.
The second point I want to make out is that these are all capital items, and I thought all the reserves and halls were actually pulling all their desires and looking at district-wide and what the priorities were. So I'm just wondering if that's premature. My thinking was if we don't allocate all the funds, maybe it could just go to that bucket because it's going to community good and then it could be prioritised.
Yeah, 14 seems an awful lot. Councillor Chrissy, sorry.
Thank you, Worship. So we did have confirmed at the workshop that those capital items would be applicable for the reserve contribution fund. So some of them would be able to be funded by that, but there was an earlier conversation during the long-term plan that Carter's Beach is one of our most successful reserve and hall subcommittees, and it was the standard that we wanted to bring all halls to. That said, I know that they've repeatedly asked for some of these things through, so up to the table to decide what they wanted to do here. It is something that they would be eligible for through the reserve contribution fund, but I don't believe that that's going to be open for applications for some time just yet. I don't have Mr. Oldham here to answer that, but I believe potentially in the next 3 to 4 months.
Councillor Weston.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just to update on the chairs. The chairs haven't been upgraded and they're 50 years old. They're the old type school ones with splinters in the bum type stuff.
Through another organisation I belong to, I saw an email requesting help shipping some chairs to the hall that the hall had purchased, stackable chairs. I did share that with Chrissy Craig, just so she's aware.
Andrew?
I'd be in favour, I know they've got 3 requests there, I'd be in favour of no more than 2 of them because it is a substantial share of that $80,000. So whatever we do, I think no more than those 2 of those 3 requests should be considered at this stage, just for equity's sake.
Hard to understand, but basically I think he said he doesn't support all 3 of those applications, noting they've got 3 different applications, and I'm, for the record, I'm of the same mind. I favour the heaters, but happy to take something, other views. Samson was first, and then back to you.
Yes, well, you know, every funding round we have, Carter's Beach have quite a few. It's not just one application, and they have been very, very successful over the last sort of number of years. So, you know, I think that let others have a go. They're all nice to have. Okay, you might get splinters in your bum because of the chairs, but yeah, we hope they don't have bare bums.
Councillor O'Keefe. Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. No, you go. I just got distracted. Mr. Grafton.
I know this is a bit simplistic, but if we are, I take it we're going to allocate the full 80 today. So we're about 27 over. I'd like to see the Waimang one because they've asked for more than costs, so they're about 2 over for me. So at that, it's about 27 over, which would, if you go 27 to those 3 for Carter's Beach. No, I mean 18 to those for Carter's Beach, then that's a full amount for the rest. So is that possible? Can we do all the rest and then come back to Carter's Beach?
Yep, if you want to, Councillor O'Keefe.
Well, my opinion is, this is just my opinion, 3, 4 and 5 is all CapEx that council have said that they can fund. So, you know, most of these can't apply for that. So
it would be eligible for the reserve contribution fund. Council are not approving that spend, that would need to come to the table. So I don't want to say that that's definitely going to be approved from another fund if it might not be. So just caution the wording that we've said that we definitely pay for that out of a different fund because it might not be the case.
So they've legitimately applied to a public application process, and we can determine whether or not we want to support it or not. Councillor Naylor?
Yeah, just in terms of an earlier comment about bringing all the halls up to the same standard, I think I brought that up in an earlier meeting. What I was actually meaning was, you know, those of the lower standard we start with them first rather than putting the highest standard one even higher and then looking to obtain all the others up to that standard. So, you know, over the years, Carter's Beach Hall has been very, very successful. I think that there's other halls around that need bringing up to even a moderate standard compared to that hall. So I'd be not in favour of any of those.
Councillor Howard, and then you want to move on.
I did attend a meeting at the Carter's Beach Hall the other week, and it was very, very cold, but I'm not convinced that actually replacing the heat is the answer because it's still facing upwards, and I'm wondering if actually at some stage they actually need a heat pump. That would be better. So I'd be against that at this stage because I think it needs a bit more investigation and what's the best heating option for it.
Okay, so
it could be a tip funding maybe something.
So let's just leave the Carter's Beach ones for a moment, and we'll move on and then come back. So what I think we'll deal with is those that we want to fund fully. Otherwise, we'll be going around in circles all day. So we'll go to, because I'm hearing that there's not an appetite, just reading the room, for either any of those 3 to fund it fully. Right, so let's move on to the Citizens Advice Bureau, 13,358.68. Full funding. Okay, all those in favour of full funding for them? That's carried, thank you. Ngāhua AMP Sports Association, 1,950, full funding. All in favour? Carried, that's covered. Kaitiaki Mokanui Charitable Trust, $900. Full fund, all in favour? Yes. Karamat Anzac Community Coordinator, 2,500 for a bronze plaque. Full funding. Yes, done. Carried. Karamat Historical Society, $3,000 assistance for the increased insurance costs for building and liability cover. Okay, not so much enthusiasm. We'll come back to that one then. So just mark down 10 and what were the other ones? 3, 4 and 5. Okay, Peltier riding for the disabled, $5,000. All in favour? Yep, majority. Market Cross Community Group, 4,532.75 for insurance. All support, yes, covered. Northern Buller Museum, $5,224. Councillor O'Keefe.
Even though I really support all Northern Buller initiatives, these guys have had quite a bit of funding, and I would support 4,000 on this.
Right, and let's just note that as a partial then, we'll move on, we'll come back to it. Reefton Sado Karate, $600. Yep, I like that. That's fully funded. Southern Cancer Society Trust, $5,000. I support that. Those in favour? 1, 2, 3. Yep, those against? Yep, that one's covered. Waimangara Recreation Reserve Domain, $5,000. Okay, that's a partial. Any argument on that? On it being a partial? You're going to argue for full? I don't think you've got the table, Tony. We'll come back to it. We'll deal with the last 4 and then shed 2,500. Those in favour of that in full? Yes, so that's full to that. That's funded in full. Okay. What have we got left? Okay, 48 left. Oh, 31 left. Okay. So let's go back in reverse order. Waimangara Recreation Reserve Domain. Councillor Craft.
Yeah, as I said last meeting, I think it should only be for costs, which was only, I think, 2,000 something. And they come back and said their cost was only whatever it was, 2,700 or whatever. So again, somehow it's a profit on top.
Councillor O'Keefe.
They come back to saying that at the time of the application, the budget was 7,623 outgoings. Estimated income was 5,425. Estimated shortfall was 2,189. 5,000 as the majority of the income estimated gate sales, but also since they have this application costs are going up, so yeah, so they're going to have to try and apply for some more funds as well.
That's the Grafton.
But the application, they quite specifically said what they thought their income was, their cost was, and they've added another $2,900 or whatever. So.
Yeah, one more, Tony.
This is their first event. This is their first event, so it's all fairly new territory and a bit of a learning curve. I feel this budget is correct, and I think it's probably going to cost more to set up. So, but it's up to the table.
Councillor Fowler.
I think we have to be fair to all groups and take the applications as they're written. So I support I'd second Phil's body moving 2,189 or whatever. $2,198.
Okay, are you moving that 2,198? So we're talking partial. Councillor Sampson.
I think we should sort of round it up a bit more to either 3 or 4. You know, as said, it's a new group, it's a new function. They're working their butts off out there. They're doing a damn good job, and I think a little bit of encouragement doesn't go amiss.
Can we test the motion on the second?
Yeah. So we've moved and seconded at what? 2,198. 2,198. Those in support of that? Those against that? Okay, that's carried. 2198 it is for them. Done. 13 was the Northern Buller Museum. They were looking for 5224. And Councillor Fowler. Okay, moved and seconded at 5224. Councillor Sampson, you asking to tell me something?
I'm sort of not in favour of this stage. They did very well in the long-term plan. I want to actually see if they maintain all their grounds that they said they were going to mow, because reading an email that came through, they, and I need to get back in touch. They said they were going to be going around the band rotunda, which the previous group did, because council own it, or the money's come from council. So at this stage, until they can prove that funding that they got in the long-term plan is going to be used the way we envisaged it would, I'd be reluctant to do anything at this stage. They do have room there, I'm sure, to just put a mower in, and yeah.
Okay, any further, it's been moved and seconded at 5224. Any further argument either way? Okay, I'll test that. All those in favour of 5224? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those against? 1, 2, 3. It's carried. Okay, so that was what? Number 13. It's done. Number 10. Camera Historical Society 3000. How's our total looking?
$23,754.57.
I say we do that in full. 3,000. Number 10. Councillor Howard.
I'm against that, because we see it, a precedent in the long-term plan was that we were setting the museums at a rate that was fair across the whole district, and that on the expectation that they weren't going to come back to us for operating expenses, and to encourage them to apply for other funding avenues too if they wanted top-ups.
Okay, any other debate on that? Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded at full funding, 3,000. All those in favour of that? Those against? 1, 2 against, carried. Okay, now we're back to the Carter's Beach ones.
So just confirming, we're at 20,754.57.
Yes, Councillor Fowler.
Do we have to spend all the money? Because we did already spend more than we probably budgeted for when we did the long-term plan. Or have we already budgeted to spend this money and it's sitting there ready to jump on something?
We budgeted to spend it, I would have thought.
Correct.
Do we have to spend it though, just because it's in the budget? Surely not. Surely not. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Weston. Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Could I offer a lollipop here? Carter's Beach, the chairs are probably more needed than the heaters coming into summer, I assume. And I'll probably get shot for saying that the stage could probably stay. Could probably have a stay of execution at this stage, so to speak.
Councillor Fowler.
I'm sort of in two minds. I'm quite happy to carry this over for next year, but also the Carter's Beach, yes, they have a lot of resources, but good on them for being proactive and putting in applications and doing all this work. And yes, they've had lots of money, but that's probably goes to show the amount of effort that the community members put into this hall and looking after it. So many people from Westport have weddings at Carter's Beach, and the idea of having all of the facilities up to the same standard, it's like, would you rather choose 5 shitty halls to have your wedding or 1 good hall? Like, just from a practical sense, I would think we should probably just fund the chairs and carry the rest over, because that would be of benefit to a lot of people in Westport.
Okay, Councillor Sampson, then Linda.
I would actually like to see the money carried over and just have a small round later on, because this is the first time we've just had the one round. And I think we're likely to find groups that were expecting to see a round in February. And all of a sudden, because we always get insurance, a number like the band ball, etc., for insurance, and they would have missed out because the timing is incorrect for when they would have normally put an application in. So I'd like to see it carried over for that reason.
Okay, I'll just get councillor Webb's view and then.
I can get off mute. Yeah, I just think too, we made it quite clear in the long-term plan about like these reserve management, plans coming up for our halls and that. And I think other halls that may have put an application have held off because they've been told, until we get these asset management plans and that in place. And, we did allocate some maintenance funds towards like a Nangahua and another hall. So I think it would be a bit unfair if we then, just because Carter's Beach has put their application in, that they should just automatically get it. I'd be quite happy to carry it over, like Councillor Sampson has said, that either have another round or like it's obviously not going to, just because it's in the budget doesn't have to be spent, but I think it should be spent wisely because it's still $20,000. And I'd be quite happy to carry it over and either the new council decide to have a mini grants thing or have it something towards the halls contestable. I don't know, but.
So having a second round, I think, is slightly problematic because we didn't resolve that in the long-term plan.
Just through the chair, so we just had it confirmed, so it wouldn't be able to be carried over to a subsequent year, needs to be used within this year, and so it would just be a saving if the full amount didn't get allocated.
Or a saving, I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, so that's a consideration that you could have there, but I wouldn't recommend another grants round, even a smaller one. The other thing we could do is use the funding to be put towards the repairs and maintenance or all other halls.
Yeah. Okay, and Mr. Grafton.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it would be better used for smaller entities that could use it, as long as the Carter's Beach can get hold of reserves contribution. Otherwise, I'd be happy to give them the 20 spare or whatever it is, if they can't get usage of reserves contribution.
So given that the conversation is largely centred around our reserves halls, is there an option to just resolve that this last 20 grand, whatever it is, be added to the hall maintenance budget?
Yeah, through your worship, the property team worked really hard and quite extensively with all of our reserve and hall subcommittees. So I think by a process of priority, they'd be able to allocate those funds to the halls that need it most and the projects that the subcommittee would like to see.
Is everyone comfortable if we do that? I just think it's tidier than sort of some vague, we might come back to this later in the year because it might get lost, and 20 grand's not much to go out for another round with. It builds a whole lot of hope, and there really isn't, much for people to get money out of it. Councillor O'Keefe.
But that small amount of money would mean a lot to some of the really desperate halls out there that need, even carpet or
So does that cause any issues from a consultation point of view or anything that we've done anything different? Yeah. Mr. Basher.
I'm just thinking the only one I'd support really out of the Carter Speech would be the heaters if it was indeed a health and safety issue. If the heaters are old and not replacing would create a health and safety issue, that would be the only reason I'd support that one only. But if it was a health and safety issue.
I don't think it was raised, is it, in their application? No. Okay. So Councillor Howard.
I'd be happy to make a motion to that be added to the halls and reserves maintenance budget.
So we approve the distribution of 59,245.43 as per the spreadsheet. And second recommendation that, I'm going off script here, but the 20,754.57 be 20,754.57 be 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 57 be allocated to the reserve and hall maintenance budget. Yeah, right. You happy with that, councillor Howard? Is there a seconder for that? Councillor O'Keefe. Okay, right. Let's just, do we need to go back to these? Yeah, so the recommendations are that we note that that there was a workshop held on the 10th of September to discuss the applications received. I'll move that way. Council note the total amount for this allocation is 80,000. I'll move that way. Is there a second? And 3, council resolves to consider the application to determine the allocation of grants funding to be approved for each applicant. So those 3 are moved, myself, seconded councillor Fowler. We'll just deal with those first and then we'll come back to that. So all those in favour of that, we've just done that. Any against? That's carried unanimously. And then the 4th recommendation is that we approve the remaining amount of funding not allocated will be included in the reserve and hall maintenance budget. Moved Howard, seconded O'Keefe. Open that for any further discussion. All in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Good work. Thank you. Oh, sorry, one against. Carried. Okay, moving to 4.6, Riskpool trust deed amendments. Mr. Newman.
This is the council proposed amendment to the full property. Yes, about the scheme to the background to the Riskpool, the events that are happening in terms of the winding down of the scheme, the domestic litigation, the reinsurance recoveries, and I'll take the paper as read and happy to answer any questions that the councillors wish to raise.
Any questions on this? Councillor Sampson.
Oh, it's just a minor one that it's immaterial. Why was this not brought up at our last meeting? Because the letter was sent to us way back in August and we could have had it at our August meeting. And here we are on the 11th hour, we've got to make a decision and sign it now.
Through the chair, this is, appreciate you, the letter was sent in August. It's just taken time to get this one back on the agenda. It's just a timing thing, nothing more.
Through the chair, it was just too late for the agenda because it was the week before the agenda went out. So it just missed the deadline by a day or so.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, so the recommendations are receive the report and propose amendments to the Riskpool trustee. 2, notes the purpose and effect of the proposed amendments as outlined in this report and the attached papers. 3, approves willingness to council consenting to the amendment to the Riskpool trustee as set out in the attached letter dated 21 August 2025. 4, authorises the CEO to sign and return the attached consent form on behalf of the council. You all want to move that way? Particular councillor O'Keefe, seconded by councillor Grafton. Open that for further discussion. All those in favour? Any against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay. Appointment of proxies for the coming Holdings Limited AGM. Mr. Salmon, anything to add to this report?
Thank you, Bishop. No, nothing to add. More than happy to take any questions if anyone has any.
Any questions on this one? It's very much standard procedure. Okay, so the recommendation there is that we approve the mayor and or deputy mayor elect in the mayor's absence to be appointed as the proxy vote for the council at the 2025 annual general meeting for Boyle Holdings Limited and its subsidiaries. Noting we're referring to roles because the meeting is after the election, so we don't know who will be in these roles then. happy to move that. I can move that way because I'm not conflicted, because I don't know if it'll be me or not. Move that way as a seconder. Councillor Fowler, open that for further discussion. Councillor Naylor.
Yeah, just the way it reads to me, Mr. Mayor, is that you or the deputy mayor will vote, when in the past we've actually had two people voting.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. I think you need a mover and a seconder.
Yeah.
Well, they call it a proxy, but it's not in the sense of normal proxies. Yeah. Let's just simply change the word or to and.
Yeah.
I don't think it materially matters.
No, it's fine. And
but I think you do need a mover and seconder in the
yeah.
but for the on the day at the AGM. So if the recommendation should read approve the mayor and the deputy mayor elect in the mayor's absence to be appointed as the proxy vote for council at the 2025 annual general meeting for the Boiler Holdings Limited and its subsidiaries. Who are the mover and seconder happy? Okay, all those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thanks, Councillor Nolan, for that reminder. Okay, continuation of the Westport Rating District, 4.8. Rating District Joint Committee. Do you want to speak to this, Simon?
No, I just say question.
Any questions on this? This is similar to some of the other ones that we've done so that the committee can continue without having to be disestablished and reconstituted in the new traineum. Any questions on that? Okay, so there's 3 recommendations to receive the report, and 2 that council agrees that the Westport Rating District Joint Committee will continue to operate and will not be disbanded when the new council members take office after the 2025 local election. And 3 confirms that the community representatives currently appointed to the Westport Rating District Joint Committee are reappointed to the committee following the 2025 triennial local election. Somebody like to move that way? Councillor Weston, seconded. Deputy Mayor Basher. Give me a nod. Good. Get you on the books. Open that for any further discussion. All those in favour? Any against? That one's carried. 1 against, I think. Okay. I can't even say that word. Interregnum Report 4.9. It's a word I've never heard of before. Can you give me a definition? What's an interregnum?
It's the period in between the election and the formation of the council in the new council.
Yeah, good test. Any questions on this report? Kind of self-explanatory. It doesn't empower the CE to run amok, though, does it? Why does it keep jumping off the wrong thing to go to this one? Okay. So the recommendations for the interregnum report that the council. Oh, sorry, is there a question? Councillor O'Keefe.
I hope I'm speaking on behalf of Rosalie and myself that are sort of business as usual at the moment. So does it mean that we don't do anything in that period of time? We just mow lawns and whistle?
That's when I'd take a holiday if I was you.
It's just to give, because you don't have any formal powers as council until you're sworn in. So it's just for that period until you're sworn in. So if there is anything, national, declaration, emergency, something that needs to be decided, then the powers are vested in me. But as the mayor said, it's not to run them up. It's just really, this is what every council does in this intervening period between the elections.
Councillor Naylor.
Is there a time limit, after the declaration where the swearing in can take place? Because we quite often have quite a lag period. I just wonder whether there's anything stopping the swearing in taking place as soon as the declarations are made.
Just through the chair, I believe that the formal, because the election's held on the 11th of October, I believe the results are confirmed on the 17th of October and the swearing in, and I'm just looking at Caitlin, is on the 23rd of October. Yes. The 29th of October.
Oh, yeah, the inaugural. Yeah.
Councillor O'Keefe?
Just one last question. If there's like a subcommittee meeting or, I mean, can I?
Through the chair, yes, you can still attend, you just don't have any official powers to do anything in any official capacity.
So, yeah. So I guess there would be power if there was something significant for the CE to call an emergency meeting earlier than that to swear the council in or something.
Potentially.
If there was a need.
If there was a need.
No.
Yeah. But if there's something that came up, I don't know what it would be.
Okay.
Prior to the swearing in, we could do it earlier if there was a really need.
So Caitlin has an answer.
For the chief, you can have your swearing in ceremony separate from your inaugural meeting, so you could pull that forward if you needed to, and if it worked. I mean, obviously it would depend on who your councillors when the results are decided as to how quickly, like how far forward you could bring that.
So, yeah, I guess it depends on, because there's the tentative voting outcome, and then it's like a week or something later.
The official results are due out by the 17th of October, which is a Friday.
Yeah, Friday following.
So in theory, your earliest day you could have the swearing in would be the following Monday, which would be the 19th, 20th of October.
The earliest would be the 20th, but we'd need to ensure that we had all of the documents in place, which we might not be able to get ready in time for statutory declarations.
And presumably you have to advertise that meeting as well.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't meet your notice period either.
Yes, you have to advertise your.
Okay, so we've got meetings in the calendar, Graham. You got anything further on that?
Well, it just seems to me, there's this real hiatus period where people have been elected and then they're in no man's land waiting for swearing in when all we have to do is we could advertise a meeting at any time, even before the declaration of results, and then just get these people sworn in. So at least when somebody meets them in the street, they're talking as a councillor, not as a councillor in waiting.
Yeah. Okay.
The Monday meeting or the Tuesday meeting only has to be to swear in, no other business.
Yes.
So the 22nd.
Yeah.
But it doesn't materially change this resolution. So the answer is yes, we could bring it forward to the 22nd, but it wouldn't materially change what we're asking at this point. This resolution.
Yeah. So this resolution doesn't need to change.
Yeah.
But I think I kind of agree with you, Graham. We should do it as soon as we can after, subject to, yeah.
Bring it a week forward, what we have, yeah.
Mr. Bastian?
Just having been through this before, your worship, you've got to bear in mind the inaugural meeting also sets out the committee structures in terms of reference and appointment processes. So if you're going to bring that council meeting forward, you've only got 3 days to actually get all that lined up and documents.
Wouldn't have to do all that though. Couldn't you just do a swearing in?
Yeah, but then you'll leave your inaugural meeting until November, unless you're going to have 2 meetings in October.
Yeah, 2 meetings in October.
Week apart. Yeah, normally it's done.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's, yep, it's a bit of a, yeah, I get the point.
In the past, Mr. Mayor, I think you've been involved as well, is, where the newly elected mayor and councillors get together on an informal basis and, chat about, what their expectations are, et cetera, prior to the, forming of all the committees, et cetera. So I just think it would, make real sense to just get the swearing in done and then let the mayor of the day lead that informal process prior to the first formal meeting.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, let's move these recommendations as they are, because I think that covers us. But I will have a discussion about moving that swearing in forward. Okay, the draft recommendations are that the council notes that following the 2025 local government elections, elected members cannot act in their official capacity until they have been sworn in at the inaugural council meeting. 2, delegates to the chief executive from the date after the declaration of the official election results until the swearing in of the new council, all responsibilities, duties and powers of the council except those that cannot be delegated under clause 32(1) of Schedule 7 of the Local Government Act 2002. Notes that any decision made under this delegation are to be limited to those matters that cannot reasonably wait until the new council is sworn in and must be made in accordance with council's existing policies, plans and budgets. I'll move that way. Seconded. Councillor O'Keefe. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Those against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, Mayor's updates. So that's 5.1 on page 160. I have nothing further to add, and I'll take any questions from the paper before calling on the members listed there to deliver their valedictory speeches or comments. Is there any questions on the paper for a start? Councillor Howard.
And do you want to fill us in on today's T-type Patini plan?
Thank you. Yes, so the past almost week of my life has been, and Councillor Howard's has been dedicated to the TTPP workshopping and finalisation of the decision reports coming back from the Commissioner panel. So today was the decision-making meeting where more or less all of the Commissioner panel findings or recommendations were adopted by the committee, accepted by the committee, with the exception to a slight change to the biodiversity and ecosystems chapter, where we didn't accept the date, the completion date for identification of SNAs, and we suggested a change to in line with the MPSIB, which talks of a 2030 December 2030 date for identification to be completed. Other than that, there was no other debate, no other substantive change to the recommendation. We also resolved a list of areas of interest to the committee to be picked up by the next committee after the triennium elections, to start building a bit of an evidence base for our potential plan changes. So there's a few things in the plan now that we're probably not as comfortable with as what, or a little bit unsure how it will work in practice. And so there's a couple of things that the quite a wee list of things that the planning departments will need to work together on bringing forward to subsequent processes around plan changes. And obviously all councils and all submitters will have an opportunity to appeal the notified plan. So now we've made our decisions today. The plan gets notified on the 10th of October, and that then becomes a public document, and there's a 30 working day period for people to appeal, and then it enters into a process around mediation and ultimately environment court if mediation is not successful. So councils have various, and no doubt the planning teams will be having more time now to digest over the next few weeks the recommendation reports as now adopted, and see if there's any matters that they want to appeal further or not. I think that's the rough synopsis. I have something more to add.
Just to add, if anyone's really interested in particular topics, that the Taipatini plan website, you can go on and see all the recommendation documents. So you'll see what the submitters put forward and the reports for those submissions, and then also what the panel, what the discussion were, and what the points of evidence or why they made their final recommendation. So maybe at first light you might think, hey, I don't agree with that. But it's very hard to argue against evidence and everything. So if you want to understand a bit more, just go onto that website and look up your topic. And
so one of the challenges that the committee grappled with was the community sentiment and political, not local politics necessarily, but national political rhetoric and media statements by ministers and the like versus what's in the actual law. And the TTPP process today was quasi-judicial. It was the final step in it, effectively a quasi-judicial process under the RMA. And so really the decision-making had to be made on fact and in line with that process. And so that made, perhaps some of the more challenging community feedback matters a little bit harder to deal with and be seen to be dealing with at that level. So but there was acknowledgement that the TDPP is quite an achievement. There's I understand we're one of the first regions that have successfully come together as district councils and combined and made one district plan. And I think there's obviously a lot of runway to go on this yet. They were indicating the mediation and things on the various matters they're anticipating could take most of next year as they work through the process of scheduling that with the Environment Court and figuring out how that all works. So a long way to go on that, but really good milestone today. And it was what we set out to do, to try and get it through this decision-making stage with the current elected members, rather than a whole new bunch having to get their head around, how we got to where we were. And finally on that, we acknowledged the contribution made by the previous elected councillors who were involved. So particularly from Buller was Sharon Roach and Laura Cole McLaughlin, who, were really instrumental in that whole plan writing part, which was the first 3 years, which is most of that stuff is actually held up pretty well in terms of working right through the process, and most of it is stuck into the finished plan. So good testament to that, and obviously to Graham in this past 3 years as well, and his contribution and things as well were all noted. So it was quite a big day down there, finalised today. Any other questions on my report? Okay, so we'll call on valedictory addresses, and on my list is Councillor Naylon's up first. Graham, you're welcome.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I thought I'd actually indicated I wasn't going to say much this time, given that 6 years ago I had quite a big send-off in Reefton, as some of you will recall. But just want to say thank you to the people of Anangahua who have supported me for the last 33 years. In terms of returning me each time, sometimes unopposed, but certainly appreciate the support. And I want to thank all those that I served with around the table. I've not always agreed with everybody, but I've really, really appreciated the robustness of the debate when it's happened. There are times when I haven't appreciated enough robust debate. And though I guess they're disappointing times. In terms of the last 3 years, pretty disappointed that I was actually involved with a 30% total rate increase during my time in the last 3 years. And that's something I guess I'll just have to live with. But certainly thank you to everybody who's made for me an enjoyable part of my life. And that's about it really. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Graham. Councillor Farlett.
It's going to be short and snappy, don't worry. When I put my name forward for council 3 years ago now, I wasn't entirely sure of the extent of what I was getting myself into. In the past 3 years, I've had the opportunity to learn more about local government, what governance role entails. But more than anything, I've witnessed the amount of spirit, energy and commitment that people in this district dedicate to our community. There are countless hours of volunteer time put into our local halls, walking tracks, music groups, art groups, and many more activities that make the Buller district the place we are proud of. Going forward, my wish is to see that those who are elected to council seizing opportunities to grow our district and ensure it continues to appeal to individuals who complement this special place, whilst making common sense and economical decisions for the here and now. Being on council has been a huge learning curve for me, one I'm extremely grateful for, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity to represent those who have elected me. Thank you to my fellow colleagues, staff, and community members for this interesting and eye-opening experience. I hope the skills that I've learned can be invested back into the community who enabled me to be in this role.
Very good, thank you. Councillor Howard.
Well, it's certainly been a very challenging 6 years. It's certainly been a very challenging 6 years on council, including the technology. Firstly, COVID, we quickly learned the protocols of Zoom meetings, the mute button, blurring the background, and that little hand that you used when you want to speak. Then we had the flooding events. The community really pulled together in its response and the support of those affected, but it was a challenging recovery with council brokering support, implementing huge capital programs and planning for a more resilient future. As the Mayor mentioned, directives from central government flip-flopped and came in increasing volume and required a lot of staff resources and caused a lot of frustration for all. We faced the challenge of attracting staff for positions, that is until the public service cuts. Having temporary and short-term CEOs, even with their sterling efforts, was not conducive to good leadership. I want to extend my appreciation to our current CEO, Simon, your experience in local government and in project management, and your skills, along with your supportive leadership style, is achieving really positive outcomes. It'll set the new council up well, and also for helping build a strong team. Thanks to senior management and their teams for implementing the work programs, some of which have been very large, and you've implemented them along with business as usual. Many of you are new to the district and, like the rest of us, want to contribute to its growth, and I feel often you've gone unappreciated. I'm hoping the next council is aspirational. It both welcomes and seeks opportunities and treats obstacles merely as hurdles to leap over or a chance to make improvements. I must admit it has been hard at times to cope with the negativity and with the misinformation spread through the social media. It's not conducive to getting the best out of people or for encouraging investment in our district. I believe we can write our own destiny, and I want it to be a positive one. Our opportunities are many. We have a lot of assets to work with. We have a great natural environment, natural resources, and heaps of recreational opportunities. We have a good work-life balance. We have strong, connected communities with heaps of activities and volunteering. The 4 West Coast councils are working together really well, with the latest being forming a combined 3-water CCO. And as of today, adopting a regional plan, which has injected a West Coast way into a document that's largely led by national legislation. The new council will be able to reimagine local governance and the role of BDC within the district and region, ensuring local voice and reputation while working collaboratively with other councils and entities to improve the quality of life in our communities and on the coast. We might be a small council in a sparsely populated, isolated region, but we are recognised for our resilience, our ability to tackle issues practically and with innovation. So I thank all the current councillors for the work they've done, and I wish the incoming council all the best.
Thanks. Thanks, councillors. And yeah, acknowledge all your various service over a number of years, particularly Graham and Joe, and obviously Annalise for the 1 term, but you might come back one day. Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Okay, is there nothing else out of my report? My reflections are there as well, and they've largely been echoed by others. So I really just want to, reiterate that. I think thanking you all for constructively getting us through the triennium. Obviously there's been some challenges and, but there is a bright future, and whoever's in these seats going forward has a really good base to pick up and carry on from. So, that, I don't have anything else to add in terms of thanks. And there's 3 recommendations there: to receive the Mayor's monthly update report dated 24 September for information and discussion. Note the inwards and outwards correspondence and provide any directions for responses required. And noting the valedictory addresses we just heard from councillors Naylon, Fowler and Howard. Someone like to move that way? Councillor Weston, seconded Councillor O'Keefe. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, CEO's report. Mr. Pickford, 6.1.
Through the chair. No further comments really, but just on behalf of the staff, for those councillors who are stepping down, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you in the short time that I've been here. And I know that your service is well appreciated across the community, and the team here have been challenged by you, and we've enjoyed working with each and every one of you. Yeah, but happy to take any further questions on my CEO report.
Any questions? Okay, recommendation that the CEO report dated 24 September be received. I'll move that way. Seconder, Councillor Grafton. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Portfolio leads verbal updates. Councillor Webb, Canago Community Board.
Yeah, we just had our last meeting for the triennium. Probably the major thing that we resolved was just supporting the Reefton Historic Trust as per their long-term plan submission about moving the restoration for the Fairley engine. So we voted to support that, and they had done some really good. We'd done a bit of community consultation, and they'd been working with the original Morris family who donated it to the community. So we just voted to support that. We also, which I understand there was a media release today, but voted to keep the Reefton Visitor and Service Centre name the same. And then the only other kind of update was just that, and I think it was brought up in our RAC meeting anyway, last meeting, just about the HVAC system in the pool, that there's been a delay and that no tenders received and that. So my understanding from the meeting was that the swimming season will continue as normal, and then it will only be a couple of days that once that HVAC system's been tendered, and that it would be closed. But apart from that, we just thanked the ICB for their work and wished the outgoing members, Ashley, Dean, Robin and Graham, well, and thanks for their contribution. And yeah, and I've really enjoyed being the chair for the last 3 years. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Councillor Webb. Any questions? No. Regulatory environment planning. Andrew, Graham, probably nothing new, I don't think.
No.
Okay, thank you. Community services, councillors Howard or Fowler.
Met with the governance team, the community services team, read feedback from the past triennium and input into improvements for the next term, and discussed topics for council induction. I'm just preparing a handover summary of my community services portfolio and my representative roles to hand on to incoming council and staff. I attended the tourism summit along with Councillor Weston. The guest speaker presentations can be viewed on the website. There was really good representation from throughout the Bulla there, and I managed to talk to many of them about if they're happy with council services and facilities. And I'd like to give a big shout out to Sally, who is doing a terrific job at the Maruia rubbish facilities. The locals love her passion for recycling, so keep up that good work. Promoting Bola has released the Bola Identity and Toolkit at their recent AGM. And just a bit of an update on what's happening in council facilities. The Reefton Visitor and Service Centre, the completion of engagement with the Nung Hill Ward residents regarding the potential facility name change, and the ICB is voted to retain the current. Libraries, DIA have funded the DigiCoach, which is located in the Westport Library for 3 months to provide digital device support to people in need. And then the DigiCoach will also be visiting outlying communities. Theatres, the HVAC installation is underway. Closures will be kept to a minimum and community involved throughout the usual channels. In the community outreach days have been confirmed for the remainder of the year. A review of their format will be done to ensure they are as effective and efficient as possible. And a section within the resident survey will offer some insight. The voting is well underway, but it's not too late to enrol. Check the council website or pop into the council offices in Westport and Reefton. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. Any questions for Joe? Anything to add, Elise? Infrastructure, Grafton and Western.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we had a infrastructure portfolio meeting today. What I found really, speaking with Anthony and the crew, it is one portfolio that works really well with our monthly meetings. Any workshops that need to be raised from these things. We discussed Victoria Square, the ongoing grass. There's just recently, we didn't discuss it, but the pump track needs some work to stop the gravel from being spread everywhere all over the cycle track and down onto the grass as well. So that was discussed with Kieran and Lucas Haley. I think Westport going to do something like that. Obviously, with the water, the trunk main was very successfully completed. So if Phil's got something else, or Michael.
I think the other one was a Coach Street. I think they're just waiting on a wire stop there to be inserted, but I think it was mentioned that with the heavy rains recently, there was nothing holding up, so that seems to be a success story.
Cobden
Street. Sorry. And I think the other one was one I've been battling for a year or two, was livestock water supply one, which with some physical works have started there. So hopefully that'll be, I'm told, done by summertime, but there or thereabouts, it'll be fully up and running. And they've come up with new water meters now that can be put on the outside of the pipes now. So that'll save magnetic ones. So that'll save a lot of time and a lot of money as well, without having to shut the systems off completely.
Sounds good. Any questions? Okay, Mr. Reedy's away. Smaller rural communities, Councillor Keith and Webb.
I would just like to thank all the subcommittees over the last 3 years for working with all these new changes around the rules and how subcommittees operate. This training has been done under volunteer time, so I really like to acknowledge that. The community drop-in sessions were a great idea. I just feel some feedback would be talking with the community about times that these are held and how we can improve that engagement more. BDC are trying really hard to engage with small communities. We need to keep this going and need to share information around meeting times with the local stakeholders in the future. Thank you to all the councillors around the table. It's been fantastic working with you all, and I wish the ones that are standing again all the best of luck on their campaign. And Joe, Annalise and Graham, thanks so much for all your amazing contributions, and you'll all be, I'll miss you. And but I wish you the best on your new lease of life outside the council, which is going to be fun. And thanks to Linda for working with me on the portfolio. And I hope this develops more and we can make improvements for the betterment of our small communities around this portfolio. So thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Linda.
Oh, just that, yeah, thanks, Tony, for mentioning, yeah, the subcommittees and everything else. I agree, like, yeah, a lot of hard work goes into those volunteer positions. And so I'm really glad that we rolled them over so they can continue that work. And yeah, again, thanks, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. Iwi relations. So I have started some conversations with Francois around what representation looks like for the next training. We'll just get us mind working on that. So that's something that have to be tidied up in the new training as to how that's going to work, or the who or what. TTPP, I think we've already covered that off. Nothing further to add there. Joint committee rating, just
I'd like to add a bit if I could, Mr. Mayor.
Certainly.
In terms of the TTPP, I was involved in the original district plans way back in the end of 1990s, and I think in 2001 we were the third in New Zealand to have our district plan operative. And I always remember that at the time there was a old technology, I suppose, a video put out by the Honourable Simon Upton, who was the Minister for the Environment at the time. And his message was to all councillors to be so familiar with their district plan that they could explain it to the people on the street, you know, when anybody asked any questions of it. We've endeavoured to do that, I think, over the years with, you know, getting to know our own district plan. The original one was actually drawn up by a woman in Christchurch. We didn't know too much about it. I remember the then Deputy Mayor, Councillor Cole, saying that as councillors we didn't need to know much about our district plan. We should leave it all in the hands of the lawyers. Well, of course, we've learned a lot since then that the district plan really is the people's plan. It's supposed to be a plan that the people of the Bulla have decided how they want to see their district prosper in the future, how they want to manage the resources, etc. This latest joint plan, if you like, I think has gone away from that concept. It's to me, it's been taken over by consultants. They've come from all parts of New Zealand and dealt with different chapters of the plan. And I think it was a bit galling. I heard a comment from Daryl Liu, the CEO of the Regional Council, saying that he was so disappointed that there wasn't any current councillors on the hearing committee. And I guess being a commissioner for the last 20 odd years, I was a little bit disappointed as well. But I think the previous committee made the decision that we shouldn't have anybody who's a current councillor on the hearing panel in case there was some bias seen. And to me, that I think that was a big mistake. So yeah, disappointing the way it's come about, that the average person in the Bulla knows little or nothing about the new plan, when really it's a plan for the people. Should have been, you know, put together by people's input, and it's really been taken over by the law, if you like, and the power of the consultant. So disappointing in that respect. But all in all, I want to thank everybody in the past who's been involved with our own district plan, and especially ex-councillor Roach, Rutherford and Lynn Brooks. And we were very, very much donkey deep in revising our own plan when this terrible, terrible legislation was passed to get this regional plan in place. So yeah, that's all I've got to say on it. Thanks.
Thanks, Graham. Joint Committee, Westport Rating District, that one is meeting on Monday, I think it is. So any update besides that? Regional Transport Committee, don't know if it's met, no update there. Okay, the council recommendation, we received those verbal updates. We'll move that way. Second, Councillor Fowler. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. And there was no public forum. So there's a recommendation to move into public excluded, and this is solely to confirm public excluded minutes, isn't it? From the last meeting, for the reasons set out there. I'll move that way. Is there a seconder? Councillor O'Keefe. Any discussion on moving into public excluded? All those in favour? Any against? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, media.
Thank you.
That's it for the training. What on earth are you going to write about now?